The COVID-19 pandemic has disrupted the lives and education of millions of children around the world, but especially those with special needs. Children with special needs are those who require additional or different support or services to meet their individual learning goals and developmental potential. These may include children with disabilities, learning difficulties, giftedness, or other exceptionalities. The challenges and barriers that families and children with special needs face in accessing and receiving appropriate education and services during the COVID-19 pandemic are manifold and complex. Some of these challenges are lack of access to technology and internet. Many special education students rely on assistive devices, software, or online platforms to participate in learning activities, communicate with teachers and peers, or access specialized resources. However, not all families have the necessary equipment, connectivity, or technical skills to use these tools effectively. According to a survey by the National Education Association, NEA, a large population of students didn't have the technology or internet access needed to participate or complete schoolwork from home. Loss of routine and structure. Children with special needs often benefit from having a consistent and predictable schedule, environment, and expectations. The sudden shift to remote or hybrid learning models disrupted their routines and caused confusion, anxiety, and behavioral problems. A study by researchers from Turkey found that COVID-19 negatively affected the families of children with special needs at a rate of 94.6%. 76.5% of the children's daily routines were worsened. Reduced or interrupted services. Children with special needs may receive various types of services at school, such as speech therapy, occupational therapy, physical therapy, counseling, or social skills training. These services are essential for their development and well-being, but they may be difficult or impossible to deliver remotely or safely in person. The federal government declared that there would be no special education waivers during the pandemic, which meant that schools had to provide all the services specified in the students' individual education plans, IEPs. However, many parents reported that their children did not receive all or any of the services they were entitled to. Difficulty engaging in online learning. Online learning poses many challenges for children with special needs, such as lack of motivation, attention, interaction, feedback, or differentiation. Some children may have sensory issues, cognitive impairments, or emotional difficulties that make it hard for them to focus on a screen, follow instructions, complete tasks, or cope with frustration. Others may have communication disorders, hearing impairments, or visual impairments that limit their ability to understand or express themselves online. Online learning may also fail to meet the diverse learning styles, preferences, and needs of children with special needs. Social isolation and emotional distress. Children with special needs may already face social challenges due to their differences or difficulties in relating to others. The pandemic has exacerbated these challenges by limiting their opportunities to interact with their classmates, teachers, friends, or other supportive adults. This may lead to feelings of loneliness, boredom, sadness, anger, or depression. Some children may also experience fear or anxiety about the virus itself, their health and safety, or the uncertainty of the future. These are some of the major challenges and barriers that families and children with special needs face in accessing and receiving appropriate education and services during the COVID-19 pandemic. They highlight the urgent need for more support and resources for this vulnerable population. As educators, parents, policymakers, and advocates, we must work together to ensure that every child has the right to quality education and care during this unprecedented crisis. In this section, we will talk about the legal rights and protections that families and children with special needs have under the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, IDEA, and how they can file complaints or lawsuits if their rights are violated. The IDEA is a federal law that was first enacted in 1975 and most recently revised in 2004. It mandates that each state provide all eligible children with disabilities with a free and appropriate public education, FAPE, that meets their individual needs. The IDEA also requires that education and related services must be provided to children up to the age of 21 or 22 in California, and that education includes academic as well as self-help and vocational skills. Moreover, the IDEA states that education must be provided in the least restrictive environment, LRE, which means that children with disabilities should be educated with their peers without disabilities to the maximum extent appropriate. The IDEA gives parents and guardians a number of rights and protections to ensure that their children receive the appropriate education and services they need. Some of these rights and protections are the right to request an evaluation at any time to determine if their child has a disability and needs special education services, the right to receive written notice of the school's decision to accept or deny their request for an evaluation and what other options they considered, the right to give or refuse consent for the evaluation and to withdraw consent at any time, the right to a prompt and thorough evaluation that uses a variety of tests and measures and does not discriminate based on race, culture, or language, the right to be a member of the IEP team, which is a group of people who develop, review, and revise an individualized education program, IEP, for their child, the right to receive a copy of the evaluation report and supporting documents at no cost, the right to participate in all meetings related to their child's identification, evaluation, placement, and provision of FAPE, the right to be informed of their procedural protections and substantive protections under the IDEA, the right to access their child's educational records and request changes if they are inaccurate or misleading, the right to request an independent educational evaluation, i.e., at public expense if they disagree with the school's evaluation, the right to request mediation, due process hearing, or state complaint if they disagree with the school's decisions or actions regarding their child's education. If parents or guardians believe that their child's rights under the IDEA have been violated, they have several options to file complaints or lawsuits against the school district. These options include mediation, a voluntary process where a neutral third party helps the parents and the school district resolve their dispute in a cooperative and informal way. Due process hearing, a formal legal proceeding where an impartial hearing officer hears evidence and arguments from both sides and issues a binding decision. State complaint, a written complaint filed with the state education agency alleging that the school district has violated a requirement of the IDEA or state regulations. Civil lawsuit, a legal action filed in a state or federal court after exhausting the administrative remedies of mediation or due process hearing. These options have different procedures, timelines, costs, and outcomes. Parents or guardians should consult with a special education attorney or advocate before choosing an option that best suits their situation. The IDEA is a powerful law that protects the rights of families and children with special needs. By understanding these rights and how to enforce them, parents or guardians can be effective advocates for their children and ensure that they receive the education and services they deserve.